Hey, insiders. Have you ever wondered how music is marketed in the rest of the world? Well, if you have, then you don't want to miss this episode with Jaideep Singh, Senior Vice President and Business Head at Viacom 18, one of India's leading media companies. We discuss how India has become one of the most cutting-edge and connected countries in the world, and a close look at the various platforms that are used to reach India's youth market of today. Coming up.
This episode of the MUBUTV Insider video series is brought to you by the Music Business Registry. The Music Business Registry is the leading music industry publisher of the most up-to-date contact information for major and independent record label A&R, music publishers, artist managers, music attorneys, music supervisors, and much, much more. The Music Business Registry is the trusted industry standard and source serving the music business community for over 30 years with the most accurate and up-to-date contact information available. Their titles include the A&R Registry, the Film and Television Music Guide, the Music Publisher Registry, and the Music Attorney Registry. All of their publications are available in PDF, CSV, or online subscription. Visit musicregistry.com and use coupon code MUBUTV10 at checkout. That's musicregistry.com, coupon code MUBUTV10. When you're ready to put your music to work, musicregistry.com.
Hi, we're coming to you live from Muse Expo here in Hollywood at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. We managed to catch up with Jaideep Singh, who is Senior Vice President and Business Head of Viacom 18. Jaideep, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Over the last 15 years, India has become probably one of the more technologically advanced and sophisticated and connected countries in the world. And I'm curious, has this shaped how you market to consumers in India today?
I think quite a bit, and probably if you see from a broadcasting perspective, because that's the main business which Viacom India runs as such. From a channels perspective, I think the amount of social media presence across the broadcasting channels has gone substantially up. For example, our channels itself has got around 60 odd million followership across different assets. So I think the way media is marketing itself, I would say where the broadcasting mediums have been marketing itself in the last 2-3 years, has had a tremendous shift in the in communicating with the audience. So while you will have your channel doing live shows, you will have recorded shows, but you will always have a digital end to it. There'll always be a digital end to it, which connects people who are not probably watching the TV. So I think the biggest shift on a broader level is how do you make sure that you are on all screens, and you need to be on television, you need to be on the computer screens, you need to be on the mobile screens. I think that's the way I would define the 3 screens which have played a huge role in the transformation of the media industry in India.
So it seems that you're essentially engaging the consumer on TV, and then you're engaging them in post platforms, both online and on mobile, which seems to be doing that.
Absolutely. I think that's the space where it's moving in. And that's the space where most of the live events or live properties are moving quite considerably. And I would say live is a lot to do on online and a lot to do on digital, a lot to do on what you can produce on mobile, than what you can actually produce on ground. So while ground, you will have your 30,000, 40,000 people coming in for a big event or a big festival. What is the key for most of the festival operators or festival promoters or people like us who've been in the business of building this space is that can you engage millions out there in many more cities? Because India's got the largest English-speaking population today. You got 300 million in the middle income group. You got, I would say, at least 100 million which are prime TG for international entertainment for that matter. And it's very important to make sure that when a big artist comes into the market, you're able to blow it out into many more cities than where he is performing. I think that's the key to developing that space.
Integrated network solutions, you use a lot of innovative IPs, you use in-store, you use cinema, you use a lot of multi-dimension marketing in terms of your presentation. I'm curious, Jaideep, how much does music play in the usage of your marketing today?
I would say the business I run essentially is about creating impact properties for all our brands. We've got MTV, VH1, MTV Indies, which is a unique channel for India market. It essentially plays only independent music. We've got a couple of GEC channels. We've got a movies business thriving in. So what I do essentially is I've got one division which essentially creates live IPs, which is live Viacom 18, and one division is about creating brand engagement or doing strategic partnerships with brands, strategic partnerships for Viacom 18 as a company for people in the music industry. And that's a lot to do with international players. So there are quite a few engagements going on the technology side of from apps to website to platforms to see what we can do in the music industry as such. On the entertainment side, Viacom 18 essentially has a lot of interest in the music because of MTV, VH1, MTV Indies, that's the music play. What I do is a lot to do with music. And all the IPs or the properties we've created across different genres, from dance music to rock to pop to comedy, use a lot of music to connect with the audience, because properties are based on music for that matter, So our play is about, when you go about saying how do you connect with the audience using music, I think it's a lot to do of creating smaller pieces of content which are customized for the market, customized for the audiences. And that's what we're trying with most of the management agencies and the booking agencies and the artists for that matter, that spend a little bit more time to connect to a larger set of audience using the reach which Viacom can give. Because we are not a typical promoter. We are essentially a company which is trying to build this space, which is not the case anywhere across the globe. You don't have any company who's essentially in the live business. You essentially have entrepreneurs or promoters who build these spaces, and they are very focused on live part of it, which is audiences on ground, your ticketing model, and then probably some bit of merchandising model. But the content piece is missing in most of the big live IPs or festivals for that matter. And that's the space which we are trying to, build for the India market, because the numbers are huge, and it's important to make sure that apart from people who come to the ground, can you still bring loyalty or brand recall with the audiences who like this space but can't be there at the venue, but still would want to consume content or would want to buy a piece of merchandise or would want to engage with the property in some fashion or the other.
It's interesting. One of the things that we haven't talked about, which I think is a significant part of India's culture especially, is that India, more than any other country in the world, produces more motion pictures than any other territory in the world. And most of those films have music in them. And I'm curious, from a marketing standpoint, do you use film as part or integrate that aspect at all within your marketing in India, or no?
I think that's a very valid point, and there's something which in our this year's strategy was a piece of it, that we're going to make sure that the international artists who are coming into the market, I'm engaging with, we've got our own film production house, which is in the top 2 right now. We do 1 movie a month, sort of, in terms of release. There are a couple of other big movie houses. So we are in the process of right now actually engaging with all the movie production houses and telling them this is the calendar we have in terms of big impact IPs. Most of the movies have scenes of festivals, concerts in there. Most of the movies also have opportunity of collaboration of international artists with the Indian artists. So I think one big agenda which my personal target this year is to get some of the international artists who are coming for events, our big festivals or properties anyways, can we tie that in with one of the movie being shot? So the shooting of the movie can be done at the festival. The artist could collaborate, and that can become a big, huge marketing tool for the artist when the movie releases. Also becomes a big marketing tool for my festival, because that's going to be part of the movie. And it reduces quite a bit of costs for the movie owners, because for that setting, otherwise they are putting in money. They're going to put the money in to set the whole festival scene or a concert scene to shoot that up. So I think that's a very interesting opportunity there to really give it a big up in terms of integrating the IPs into the movie scene, and also giving opportunities for the international artists to kind of come closer to the Bollywood music, because that's where the real, money is. That's where the numbers can go up from a sync perspective, from publishing perspective, if they're able to be part of the Bollywood tracks for that matter.
India, as I understand, is a country that has many languages spoken in the country. Is this a consideration that you take into account when doing marketing in India, or?
It depends upon, if you talk about live properties, it depends upon the genre you are in.
Television, let's say.
If television essentially has, television as a medium has 3, I would say 2 essential genres in which it operates. There is HSM, which is called Hindi speaking markets. That's the main 70% of the play. And then you have state languages. So there is a whole broadcasting setup or different channels which address state languages.
Right.
So there are, I would say, around 40 to 60 channels which are state-centric channels. We also have 6 channels which are state-centric channels which are in those languages as such. From a broadcasting perspective, India has channels in languages as well as the main language, which is Hindi, and English, which is more for the top 20 towns, so people understand the English language that much. But from a live perspective, it's the property. If the property is with the international artist, is basically the international music. If it's dance, it is pop, or it is comedy. At that time, you basically are going to go more onto the English mediums. You would put some bit of Hindi mediums because there's an overlap of audience. So use that to kind of build the audience base from a footfall perspective, also from a brand builder perspective for the property and the artist, both. There are properties which are more language centric. So I have a property called Bollywood, which is more about Bollywood music, has dance music at the backdrop of it, can have some of the international DJs to come and play with the Indian musicians on a backdrop play. There you would still go more into local language perspective. You will go to Hindi play. So I would sum it up saying it's more to do with what you want to kind of communicate. Basis the property and the communication which you want to put in, you decide which medium you want to use as such.
Okay. You mentioned in this interview a lot of international artists in terms of that. Do you find that India is open musically to a lot of international artists as opposed to being more centric to Indian artists in terms of music? Is that your experience?
I think so that's what I was trying to say, that India is the only country in the world which has the largest English-speaking population. I think that's a fact.
Cool.
We essentially communicate a lot in English. You will go into the country, you'll find quite a few people, most of the people understanding this language. So the base is there. And that was one of the reasons why we entered into this space, that we've got 300 billion people who are the middle income group. Middle income group understands English. Now, out of that 300 people, the capacity to pay for events, the capacity to consume events on data, on mobile, and capacity to buy merchandise, I would say probably would be 100 million. And 100 million would come across around 20 top cities of the country. And these 20 top cities of the country can or would love to watch international artists into the market. The key is how do you make it financially viable? In terms of production, the artist fees. That's where our strategic thought process on that piece is build content pieces, build merchandise pieces, build collaborations for artists to get into the mainstream Indian music, to have alternate revenue streams coming in to make the events viable to go into multiple cities. That's where our gap is, that our ticketing revenue doesn't kind of match with the fees which are needed. So you need to plug it with sponsorships, you need to plug it with alternate revenue streams, and that can only happen if you have a strong reach medium, like a broadcast setup, which we have. I have now a strong ground medium, which is our live properties. We've got strong partnerships with the telcos that gives me a reach on consumption of data. And that ecosystem, when it gets completed in terms of little more involvement by the music stakeholders in the international market, you can really reap the benefits of the numbers. Otherwise, this is the only space which is left where we are not able to make financial sense of the large numbers which India has. While online, retail, banking, finance, infrastructure, every other business category has made sense out of India numbers. But the music industry has not been able to make sense out of India numbers, especially on the international entertainment, while the opportunity is there. So I think our play in this was, we've got all the assets together. Can we now build these reach mediums together to build those extra revenue streams? The challenge there is to get the very busy managements and very busy artists to take a little bit of more time and put into building it up, because the returns are not going to happen in the first year, they're happening in the second or third year. But you need to build this market. This is a market which is there to take the benefit of. And it's also, as I see, for the international music industry, it's a market which can be a backup. If you have saturation going in Europe, or you have saturation going in, say, America, you have a big number sitting in India. If you develop it, you put a little bit more time here, you may be able to really reap the benefits of it.
What's interesting about listening to you speak about this is that there are a lot of parallels, interestingly enough, with the American market, in the sense that the record industry, I should say, the record industry is one of the few industries in the business today, as opposed to 20 years ago, that literally relies on other factions, like you were saying, of the brands, of the ticketing, of the this, and the sponsorship, in order to support its product.
Yeah.
And can you imagine if Apple computers relied on Red Bull and on Coke and on this one to support their product? It would be like, that's an interesting model. And yet the record business seems to do that with brands. And it's almost like, we haven't been able to, because of the radical changes that have gone on technologically, we haven't been able to keep up with making the economic sense of that today in America. So as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking there's a huge parallel here for that same kind of thing.
Absolutely, I agree. I think as the market evolves, it's about what benchmarks your big operators in that market kind of set in. And at our end, it's about just doing without disturbing the usual business practices, which is about the artists are used to getting their booking fees, are used to getting a certain kind of model on which they work in. Our objective is add few layers on it and see if that works in. But to add to your point, I think the only difference for India is with Viacom into the play here is that this is for the first time, I think globally, where you have one-stop shop. You got a company which is strong on reach on broadcast, strong on reach on digital, and has a strong portfolio of ground properties, a strong portfolio of live property in the music space. That kind of, completes the circle. So I'm hopeful, and we're working towards it, to create a case study which shows if you sync all these things at one go, you might be able to create a new business model. And that new business model is something where you will be able to add those revenue streams which are missing and creating the gap in making business sense out of the play.
So, what did you think? Some really valuable insights on the international perspective from Jaideep, one of the leading media experts in India. So, insiders, here's the question of the day. From this video, what were the most valuable takeaways to you from our interview with Jaideep? Was it how India has become one of the most cutting-edge and connected countries in the world? Or was it the various platforms that are used to reach India's youth market? Or maybe it was something else that stood out to you. If you have any ideas or experiences that you'd like to share regarding this video, we'd love to hear from you and connect in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to MUBUTV for more information on how to educate, empower, and engage your music career. You can also check out a summary of this episode and everything we talked about in the YouTube description as well. And if you enjoyed this video, we'd really love it if you hit the like button and let us know what other kinds of videos and types of content you want to see on our channel. Hit us up in the comments below. And we'll see you in the next video.